Hi everybody. Hello all you rewatchers. So I hope everybody's doing good today. I'm just gonna wait a few minutes and let some people get on. First I was gonna do it, then I wasn't gonna do it because my cups weren't here, and then I got lucky and I found a couple of cups. I found one, and then I found another one. So we're good to go. And this is going to be part one. So I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes, let people get here, and we'll go take off and get going. So if you're here and you see the little red button up at the top, that means that I am live, and it says live on it, which means that you can ask me questions, and follow along with me. And if that's not there, you can still message me and ask me any questions in regards to this tutorial that I'm doing or any of my other ones, because I'm here to help and to learn too. So this is Dracaris. This is my kitty, my helper. It's not an epoxy day, so he's allowed to kind of be around, which he is. Hey Dana, how are ya? So, gnomes are the thing, guys. Everybody's doing gnomes right now. So gnomes are awesome. I have loved gnomes ever since I was a little kid. And I started playing with doing gnome cups probably in August. Actually before they were a thing. And they're actually one of my better sellers, which is great. But they're a lot of fun, and these are more complicated than a lot of the other cups that I do on the lives, just because there's elements that are involved in it that I normally don't put on like a live feed, because it just takes a lot of time to do clay manipulation and get it going. So this design works great for just about any cup size that you want to use. Hey, Kristen. Yeah, I know. I saw her and I was like, oh my gosh, she did a gnome. They're awesome, aren't they? They're so cute. I love them so much. And you can alter them and change them around, so you're not just stuck with the gnome with just a little hat and then just a nose. You can put feet on them. You can decorate cup handles, like Kristen did in her video last night. She started doing the cup and ended up making a little the little pom-pom hat that was on the side. I can't wait to see that done. I bet it's adorable. But this is definitely a lot of fun to do, and I love to work with clay. So there are two types of clay that you can use in order to do these. You can use the standard Sculpting baked clay, which is amazing, like super fast. I have done it on a painted tumbler and then put it in the oven, and then I have also done it on just a sanded tumbler, and because I spray paint them afterwards anyhow, so that all the clay just sort of like bonds and gets in there. Okay, no problem. Be here when you can and catch the rewind. The other type of clay is an air dry clay, and it's called Das. And this is great stuff, except it dries out like super fast. So when you work with it, you want to have a little thing of water to keep your fingers wet. Also, you can put lotion on your hands, because these clays tend to dry out your hands. But this one actually, they even say on the instructions that you can have lotioned hands, which is wonderful. This takes anywhere from 24 to 48 hours to dry, depending on your environment. You do not want to put this into an oven. It will dry out too fast. It will crack. It's going to do horrible, horrible things. So if you want to rapid bake, which is what I did with this guy. It's with the Sculpey. So you can use just a white plain Sculpey. It's the least expensive of all the Sculpeys. You can buy a great big huge 8-pound box for like $30, and I believe that the little 1-pound blocks are about $8, and you can pick them up at Michael's or Joann Fabrics or wherever you like to get your crafting supplies. The DOS is the same thing. The DOS is a little more pricey. It's about $9 for that. But it gives a great result, and it comes out super, super smooth, unlike Sculpey, which has a tendency to kind of have a lot of wrinkly, weird things. You have to play with it a real lot. You have to condition your clay. So you need some strong hands in order to use the Sculpey. I don't have the best hands, so what I did was I actually invested. I do a lot of clay work. I love clay. So what I did was I got one of these things, and I'll just hold up the box and show you. Well, ladies, this is like $35 or $40 for this. Well, don't buy one of these. Just go get yourself a pasta thing, a pasta machine. They're like $20, and it does the same thing. It is the exact same thing. So, this is going to be two parts, because first we're going to do clay, and then we'll do all the deco part of it later. In the next one, I'm going to shoot for Sunday. I'm not sure, because I have something cool planned for next Friday, and I want to get this guy finished up. I actually did a little mouth on my gnome, and I put an extra little piece here for his mustache. I actually did a beard. You can do the decoration work, like the beard part, with your Cricut or your Silhouette, and just cut a piece of vinyl. You can do that if you want to later on. The big important parts are the brim and the nose. So a lot of times people will do that, and then they'll do their glitter, and then they'll just do vinyl. But I wanted something that, again, not everybody has one of those machines. So I wanted to make sure that people were able to make one of these adorable little cups, even if they don't have a Cricut or a Silhouette or a cutter of some kind. I did water slides, unfortunately don't work because it is a 3D, so you're not going to be able to get that face thing going on there really well. I guess maybe you could, as long as you get the hat, because that's really the cool part. It did. So this is just a standard mug, like a hot chocolate mug, coffee mug. Amy usually carries these, and they're super awesome. Also, you can do them on the football and just a regular cup. So I found these two while I was cleaning up here a little while ago, because I almost had to put my live off because, well, UPS and everything's all locked up. So my stuff is still sitting in Texas. It hasn't even moved yet, I don't think. So you're going to get yourself some clay. I preconditioned some of this so it's a little bit soft. And the first thing that you want to do, and the first thing I do, is I decide how big a nose I want to put on my gnome. Based on the cup that you do, that is going to make a huge difference. But before I get into all that, I do want to actually say that you need to decide when you're going to do the cup, what kind of clay do you want to use in order to do this. There is really no other way to do it other than clay. So if you're going to use Sculpey or the DOS, Sculpey you can bake in the oven. So what you would do is you would sand your cup, prep your cup just the same way that you would do, you can do it that way. And the same with the DOS is, you can sand it, you can spray paint it and get it all ready to go. Or if you're going to do the bake method with the Sculpey, you can actually work off of just a sanded tumbler. Because you're going to bake it, and then you're going to spray paint it anyhow. So that's fine. It's going to work. And then you're going to be able to make sure that you have a really good bond with your clay, because that's tricky, and it really stinks if this lifts off. And I have had them lift off on me. So there's no extra glue. You don't need E6000. You don't need any glues, because this is going to stick right to your cup. And the DOS, you got to really work it, but it does work. So today I'm going to work with the Sculpey just to show you. And I do have this other one over here. I wasn't sure if I was going to do the DOS or the Sculpey, but this I just acrylic painted real quick. It doesn't matter if you have lines or streaks in your paint for this, because we're going to cover it all up anyhow, and we're going to spray paint over it so that it's smooth. I do like spray paint a lot better than you know, doing acrylic, because you just get a nice smooth line with it. So decide, first of all, when you get your tumbler, where do you want your little nose to go? And usually I do it about a third of the way down the cup. And I like this size. So this size ball of clay that I have, it's a little bit less than an inch round. And I think it's going to look really cute on there. It's going to leave me room to put my beard in and get my hat on there, but it's not going to take over. Once we get the hat part on, we can play around with it. Then you're going to make, they get to call the snake. And this is great because you can do this, so you get the kids to do it. You know, because kids love clay too. And just make yourself a snake of clay. You do want it to kind of be a little thick. This is maybe, I'll measure it. This is slightly bigger than a quarter of an inch, which is not going to be wide enough for what I want to do. So you want this maybe like slightly less than a half of an inch total, because you're going to squish it on here. So you're going to, I just roll it out so that it goes all the way around the cup. And then what I do is I decide where I want my top part to start, and I'll just kind of hold it onto the cup. And then you have to take your clay and you have to pull up with it. And see, now that it's attached there. So what I do is I kind of go around the cup and decide, all right, how do I want this to look? And then I can shape my hat. And it's nice if it's a little too long, because then you can always just chop that part off. But I think this looks pretty good, although I'm not, like I said, I'm not really sure if this is going to be wide enough. And again, you're just going to start to pull this up. Kind of hard to do it, and so you can see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. And what this does is it bonds it to your cup. Now, when you work with the Sculpey clay, what I find is when I'm all done, there's a lot of instruction on how to cook it properly. This is low heat, so you don't need to worry about that. It's going to be essentially about the same temperature as a hot cup of coffee, which is about 200. I up mine. I do 220 to 275, depending upon how thick my clay is. And I'll go anywhere. I'll put it in on a tray in a cold oven. I turn on the oven, and then I will bake it for approximately 10 to 20 minutes. And that time it all depends on how thick your clay is. The thicker your clay is, the more time it's going to take. So I'm not a real fan of having my clay in there for too long. So I do like to do it about 20 minutes at the most. Then shut your oven off and let it cool off with the oven closed. What that will do is it's not going to shock your clay, and it's going to allow it to dry, you know, slowly and cool off, because it will continue to dry because it's still in the hot oven. Again, we're just going to push this around. If you can see what I'm doing. I know it looks a mess, right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, it's not smooth. It's not, you know, like it's a mess. And it is a mess. And it's going to be a mess until you get the glitter on there. The glitter is very forgiving. And you're going to cover up all of the mistakes that you make. You don't have to worry about getting it super smooth. The one thing I do like to kind of make sure is smooth is the rounded part here. Just because you're really going to see that. And even with the glitter, I feel like it does show more than normal, you know, more than it normally would. Okay, so now I have like this little extra tail here. You can get fancy. You can use an X-Acto blade, which is what I just happen to have handy. You can use a butter knife. You can use pretty much anything that you want to. As far as clay tools and texturing tools, you can spend lots of money buying fancy silicone tools and things like that. Or you can just use whatever you happen to have. And that's kind of my favorite way of doing it is I'll just grab a whole, like I got this when I bought some epoxy and that was in the box. Popsicle sticks work great. Toothpicks work fantastic for any kind of detailing work goes. The one thing that I did like that I got was this clay roller thing. That was actually a decent investment for me. And I'm glad that I did that. But if you have an old rolling pin, like that will work for you if you don't have, a clay roller. So anyhow, there's our thing. And again, we're just going to test to make sure that, is that the way, sorry, I'm not giving you all the finger. Is that where I want it? That looks about right. Now what I want to do is I want to widen where this clay is just a little bit. Had I made my snake part thicker, then it would have spread out more, and I would have probably been better off doing it that way, because I like pardon me, I like my clay to come up higher. I do like it to come up at least an inch over what I'm working on, because I'm always worried that when I bake it, is it going to come off? Is it going to, am I going to open the oven and then I'm going to have like my thing laying in my oven, which has happened to me in the past. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. This is a lot of fun to do. It really is. Again, I'm going to just take and I'm going to put this, I probably don't need all this clay here. I'm just going to widen it up. Again, you want them to sort of be even. You just want to keep pinching it so that it's all together, and then yeah, it looks good. Now some of the hats, the gnome hats, actually have ridges on them, so you can actually get super fancy. You can sculpt you know, the wrinkles of the cap right into your clay if you want to. There's just so many fun things that you can do with it. You do want to maintain your ridge. So you don't want this to be flat. You don't want it to go all the way up to the top. You don't want it to be flat. You do want to keep that roll there. I don't know. I'm not sure about the Mod Podge, Kristen. Yeah, that would be kind of It might be okay. It might do okay. It looks super cute. I love the handle. I thought the handle was great that you did, because I haven't seen a whole lot of them done where people actually will do the handle on the cup. All right, and we'll just keep pushing this up. It really does take a little bit of time, so don't get frustrated, guys. I mean, you know, like, just play with it. And you can also kind of manipulate how you want your this little swoopy part. I don't even know what this is called. What would you call this part of the hat? The brim of the hat, I guess. You want that to kind of stay rounded, and you can play with how you want it to go. The great thing I do like about Sculpey too, though, is the more you play with it, like with your hands, it warms the clay up, and you can get it relatively smooth. Again, you want to keep sticking your nose there, making sure that you haven't gone off track of what, you know, your goal of what it is that you wanted to do. Extra stuff, just set it off to the side. You know, if you get little pieces that come up, don't worry about it. Just pull them off. The idea is to really push this up. And again, for those of you who are looking at this, who are just tuning in and you're freaking out because I don't have a prep tumbler going. I do actually have, this is a prep tumbler. It's sanded. I wanted to bake this without having any paint on it. And that also worked out super good for me because I didn't have time to spray paint today when I found my cup. Oh, you talking, Karen, are you talking about the battle box thing? Yeah, they're under a lot of pressure when they do those things. I think it's pretty darn cool, though. Hopefully I'll get in on that at some point. I like that idea. So again, you just keep working it. You can play with it. Pull down the back as low as you want, you know, like you could technically even go down to probably this point. Really depends, but I want to leave a space there because I actually want to put like a little saying on the back of the cup. Okay. Now, this is probably a 1/2 inch thick. So when I bake this, I may have to bake it twice to get it to really dry out good. The maximum I like to bake my clay is for 20 minutes. I don't like baking it over that because you can burn clay just if you've never done it. And I hope you haven't, because oh gosh, it makes a horrible stench in the house. But I have burned clay, so that's why I don't do more than 20 minutes at a time. Yeah, the battle box things are so cool. I've seen some really great ones. You got to be quick on your feet. You got to open that box up, not knowing what's in it, and you got to decide what you're doing all in half an hour. I mean, half an hour is not a lot of time when you're talking about doing cups. So, from, you know, planning it out. So yeah, it's absolutely like, woo. All right, so once you get this all on, you notice I'm really adding some pressure here. Oh, burning clay is just the worst. It's just, oh my gosh, stinks so bad. And I've done it a time or two too many. So hence I learned that lesson. But I don't have a problem second baking it. I did find that leaving it in the oven, so you cook it for your 20 minutes and then you shut it off and you leave it. Just leave it in the oven and then it will be, it usually is perfect when you take it out. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to push my nose part up just a little bit more. Just a little bit. And you're just going to slap on your nose. You can glue it if you want to. Like, you take a little drop of glue and put it on there. You're only allowed to, no, well, they can finish the cups, but when people are voting on the cup, it is the, up to the stage that was finished within the half an hour. So, Kristen can probably fill you in better. She does those all the time. And Gina, too, so I can't think of who else does them on a regular basis. There's some very talented ladies. All right, so we have his nose and we got his hat, and I still think I'm gonna you do vote twice. Is it once on the at the 30-minute mark and then once on the when it's finished? I actually want to do something. So I'm making two little round eyes because I saw a little gnome thingy, and all you saw was these two little black beads up underneath. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. I don't know. I think it'll be cute. I just want to get them round because that one's too big. They need to make like a thing for clay that says, all right, I need a little round circle that's exactly this big, and it gives you a little tool to cut that little thing exactly that big. All right. I like it. I like it. All right, so I'm just going to attach his nose here. I'm not sure about the eye part yet. I have a little time. Oh, yeah, and my fancy tools. So, you know, like paintbrush end. You just want to make sure that everything is tucked in really good. Kind of smooth down whatever sides. I mean, I have clay tools. Like, I have all kinds of clay tools. But not everybody has them, so I'm trying to use things that other people have. Then generally what I do is I'm just going to shape, make sure that it's right, make sure that I shape it. I almost think I don't like the eyes. I'm going to take them out again. You can use, well, honestly, Francesca, I don't know. I use Sculpey for baking. It's just my clay of choice, and it's reasonably priced, and it has good results. So I tend to work with Sculpey or Das, which is the air dry clay that I prefer. And that's just me. I mean, if you have a favorite one, you do want to make sure that the clay, like Sculpey clay, is non-toxic. Das clay is non-toxic, so you do want to make sure that your clay is non-toxic. You also want to make sure that it's going to take epoxy. So that could be an experiment, something to look into. This is just Sculpey clay. And it bonds perfectly fine. It like bonds great. There's no glue on here. There's nothing. I just sanded my tumbler and I put it on because I'm going to bake this. And then I'll spray paint the whole thing when it's done. All right, so that's my first part. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to actually do his beard. So if we go back to the one that I did, I even so far as went and made some little boots for this guy. So I don't know if I'll end up using them or not, but I wanted to try and see about boots, but I don't know if that's, I don't know. We'll see when I get that far. I will say one thing about rolling clay around in my work area here. It's very nicely picking up all this the straggling glitter that I have. But that, you don't need to worry about that with this, because we're actually going to end up that when I do part 2, we're going to, and this is all spray painted, then we are actually going to be covering it with glitter. So it's just that simple. All right, so there's part 2. Now, let me get I just need a wipe. Where do I put my wipes? Rags, wipes, everything you have. You just want to try and keep, I tend to wipe my hands a lot because my hands get very dry from the clay. And then you're just going to, I want to do my beard next. So I'm just going to roll out a piece. We don't want this part very thick, which is the bottom part. And then we'll come in and we'll layer for the next part. You can buy Sculpting clay just about anywhere. You can get it at Michael's. You can get it at Hobby Lobby, Joann Fabrics. You can buy it on Amazon. Or you can get this Das clay. This is air dry. I do believe they have an oven one too, but I am not 100% on that. All right, so what I'm doing now is I rolled out a big piece, and now I'm just going to decide how I want my beard. And I always make it wider and decide, like a lot of times when people do them, they don't put a face in the background. I like it. I actually like the ability to be able to do that. So when I did this guy, I actually put a piece in the back so I can make a face or put little cheeks on there or something like that. A lot of times the gnomes, you don't see that. You just see the hat coming in and then the beard coming down. So I'm not really sure if this is going to be wide enough. So I'm going to start by just cutting, you know, clay is fun. Just do whatever you feel with it. So bring it right up underneath your nose, like that. And I just kind of gently press it down a little bit, and now I'm just going to decide how I want to cut it and how long you want it. Do you want it to go all the way to the bottom of your cup? Or do you want it to stop before? So I think what I'm going to do is this. I'm just going to kind of come down to the bottom of my cup. I'm going to cut off my excess from the bottom of my cup. Okay, so that's all we do. And then just give that a good push. So you want that to kind of start to stick. I wanted to give this guy a little bit of individuality. So now you can just go ahead and start to push down. You want to push down your clay. I'm just using this. I could use my thumbs if I wanted to, just to kind of get it to stick. This will bond it right to your cup. And you don't want it any thicker than, like I said, I mean, I'll even measure this just to be absolutely sure. You do not want this your part to be any thicker than 1/8 of an inch. If it is, and you want to do something that's really textured, that really has lots of layers, you're going to need to stop. You're going to need to bake it, because you don't want to be baking things that are really a lot thicker than, I wouldn't even say, like 1/4 of an inch is kind of the maximum of what you really want to do. My nose is of course a lot thicker than that. That's probably a good half an inch. And I don't, I'll probably leave it in the oven for extra time, just to make sure that it does cool off. And by drying it with the oven door closed, then you're sure that you're actually going to be able to get a good dry on it. When you check it, if it's not dry, then just turn your oven back on again and cook it for another little bit, depending, like I said, 20-minute intervals. At 220 to 275, depending upon the thickness of your clay. That's if you're using the sculpting. Now, if you're using something else, check and see what it suggests for you. Because like I said, sculpting really is the only one that I like to work with, just because I know the results that I get from it, and it's always consistent for me. So now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of smoothing out and kind of pushing it up to get it to where I want it to go on my cup, and making sure that his little beard kind of comes up right underneath. All right, now the fun part. Woohoo! Yay. All right. Make sure that's all the way down. Tap it. You don't want any air bubbles underneath your clay. If you have air bubbles underneath your clay, there's a chance that the whole thing is going to lift off on you. And then, you know, you kind of get an idea. All right, do I like it? If you don't like it, pull it off. It's okay. Just reapply your clay. If you like it, then leave it alone. That's the neat thing about it. So then you can come back in, you can decide, all right, well, I want to do you want to do a mustache? Do you want to leave it? A lot of the gnome cups, this is all that they do to them. And then they just dry them out and then glitter them. Me, I'm a little more complicated. I like a little bit more fancy than that. So I'm going to maybe do a little beard on him, a little extra bearding. And again, it's all up to you. You're the artist. You decide. You decide what you like. Me, I like a lot of different things. So I'm always doing something different. I don't think I've ever made the same thing twice when it comes to my cups and things like that. Because I mean, I don't want something somebody else has. So I try to think of it in an artist sense, where everything I do is unique and different. And people will either like that or they don't. Some people love repetition and they love to make the same thing over and over again. It's totally an individual thing. All right, so what I did was, as I stuck this little thing on here, I was just trying to get it smooth. This would actually make an adorable Santa. Yeah, Karen, you can. That's actually what I'm going to do next. You put in any of your detail, and then you get it set up for your bake. Just trying to decide how I want his second part of his mustache to be. Because it's gnomes, you know. They're the little part of the little fairy folk, actually. All right. And again, you know, you just keep pressing it, playing with it, deciding. All right. I just got too much clay up in here. Hi, Rebecca. Thanks for joining. So this is part 1 of the gnome tutorial. You know, it's different. Like I said, there's so many different types. There's the basic one where it's just the hat and the nose. And then you put on a vinyl beard. You can do that if you want. You can do it all with clay. I love the texture of clay. I love the whole 3D thing. I think it looks super awesome. So that's the way that I tend to do it. But you know, like I said, whatever works for you. If you like it, if you enjoy doing a certain thing a certain way, then do it. You don't have to do it my way. I'm just here to act as a basic guide. All right, so I have my basic beard. And if you want to add a little lower lip, you can do that too. And, you know, you're just adding little tiny pieces of clay at a time to decide, hey, do I like it? Do I not like it? And that's the best way. Don't think you're going to rush through this thing, because you don't. You're not. You're definitely going to take some time to do it. This would be considered, so for those of you guys that sell, this would be considered a premium cup. So that means that you would charge more for these, like, you know, in the same way that, like, with the dragon scale cups and some of the mica hatchings and things like that, you're going to charge more because this actually takes a lot more time. I don't like that mouth. All right, forget it. He's not getting a mouth. He's not getting a mouth. Okay. In a couple of days you can. This is the stage that I got to with it. My cups did not come in. Normally I would have one finished. So this is where the direction that I'm going. Like I said, some people, they don't do this extra thing here and they just leave the beard and they leave the hat on. Some don't even do the beard in clay. They just do it in vinyl. But as of this morning, I didn't have any cups that I knew about, and I would have been way more prepared for it. Okay, so fancy tools for texturing. We're going to do a toothpick. Because like I said, I like to use the same things that everybody else has. So, you know, you're just going to kind of come in and you're just going to put... Now, remember, guys, this is going to have some glitter over it. And so I really don't need a lot of detail on here. If you're going to do just the clay, then yeah, you're going to absolutely want to make sure that you're doing, what am I saying? You're going to make sure that, you know, your detailing is a lot cleaner. But some of this is, like I said, I'm going to have my glitter over it. All right, so what I'm basically doing is like this. And all I'm doing is I'm pulling down with my toothpick. You start from the bottom and you work your way up, because what it does is it simulates hair. So if you know a guy that has a beard, you're going to notice that the hairs, the way that the hairs go, they don't come from the top down. They actually go from the bottom up. It also lets you get more texture in, and you can control the texture. This actually looks really cool. I might leave the beard. If I can find like a gloss to put over it. So how's everybody doing? What are you guys working on? Is it all holiday stuff, or are you all kind of done with that and you're moving on? Like, what are you working on? Working with clay is so relaxing. It's very therapeutic. It's great for you emotionally, particularly if you're stressed out. It can be really wonderful. All right. Takes a little bit, but I really like the toothpick thing. I mean, like I said, I have clay tools, and I want to see like 90% of the time, I just come back in and use something super simple like a toothpick. It really doesn't, I don't know, for me, I just think that it gives it a more rusticy look, and I get the desired result. I get the result that I want to get from using a toothpick, where some people actually, you know, you can use the silicone sticks if you want to. The other neat thing is I like the depth of this because it actually lets me bring this right along underneath and smooth out my line on from my mustache down into my beard, which I really like that. I might just leave that little part. I think I'm going to do that. I talk to myself all the time. At least when I'm on a live, I feel like I'm talking to myself, even though there's people watching it. Because I have to look up. Okay. Can you see that? I hope you can see. Now, like I said, if you don't like that mustache, you don't need to have it on there. Kind of thinking about taking off this extra. I don't know. I was thinking maybe of taking that off because I wasn't sure if I liked how it looked. But again, you know, sometimes it takes a little bit to figure out exactly the way you want to do a thing. And the last one that I did, which was this guy, I brought the face right up underneath, so I was actually able to give him some depth and some texture. I wanted him to have like little cheeks and stuff like that. But, you know, maybe your gnome doesn't have that. And again, like I said, it's all good. Whatever you want to do is fine. I do like the X-Acto only because it really lets me get a good fine line of a cut. And sometimes you want that when you're coming up underneath. Right. Now we'll just smooth everything out and decide if there's anything else that we want to put on our guy. And the next step is that this guy goes in the oven. I don't worry about detail in the hat because I'm actually going to be putting glitter on it in our next session. Just going to see how this looks. Wow, that's really cool. That gives it a really neat texture. If you use the end of this, you'll get a much wider, it's almost like a more like rigid, rough look to the beard. And I really like that because, you know, you think about gnomes and dwarves and things like that, and they just kind of have this really rough and tumble look to them. And I like that. I was hoping to get that look a little bit more. All right, I'll do the other side. So what I did was I just add a little bit more clay, pushed it up. So the gnomes are really the big thing right now. People are loving the gnomes. Been doing gnomes since August. I don't know. People just can't seem to get enough of them. I know that, like, if at shows and things like that, I can't keep them. They just, like, one of the first things to go is the gnomes. That and the Grinch. Like, you get the Grinch tumblers. Those are super, super, super popular right now. I like it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. I really like the look of that. I like the toothpick for the fine detailing. This came out like super smashing. I love it. So, I love the possibilities with the cups because you can do all kinds of cool things with them. You can decorate the handles. I haven't tried yet, but I'm actually thinking about trying to do a cap along the same, you know, when you put the lid on and then do like a stand-up gnome hat. I'm not quite sure because I don't have any spackle, and I think that that's probably what I would want to do it with. I'm also not sure how it would affect people being able to drink out of them. I know that it's the same idea, that nice and thick would probably work really well for it, because people make the fancy ones for the hot chocolate mugs. So I think that that would work out super, super good. So this guy, he's all set. And the next step, like I said, is going to be to put him in the oven. We're going to let him dry up and get the clay all nice and dry. Once that's done, I'm going to hit it with just some matte spray paint, just like you would normally do your tumblers. And then once that's done, I will come back and we will finish this guy up. So I hope you enjoyed the gnome. And like I said, your gnomes don't have to be this like this. If you want to, you know, just do the face or just do the nose and the hat, a lot of people do that. They just prefer it that way. Me, I like a little bit of extra on there. The clay sticks really well. No problems. You can see, I mean, I didn't put any glue on here at all. It sticks perfectly fine. And then as far as this guy goes, he's all ready to go into the next stage, actually. I think his stuff is all dried. So I do need to sand down just a few little spots here that are not quite as even and as nice looking as I want them to be. So, but anyhow, thanks guys. I hope you love this. This is lots of fun. I'm thinking Sunday. I'm going to have to check with Amy just to make sure that Sunday's okay to finish up the gnome. Because like I said, I got something planned for next Friday. And kind of excited about it. So, we'll see how that goes. All right. Thank you so much, guys. If you have any questions or have any problems, you know, like drop me a note. And if there's any kind of stuff that you want to see for upcoming lives, I'm doing every Friday. I'm more than happy to experiment and to try and figure out stuff. And so get yourself to this point and we'll go from there. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great one. Bye-bye.